variety of talent.
There she goes.
One of the best-known superstars.
Her spectacular Opals comeback took everyone by surprise. But years of intense competition had taken its toll on Lauren Jackson.
I was having surgeries probably from the time I was 19 or 20, on shoulders, hips, feet, ankles, knees, everything. Obviously, as I got older, the issues definitely got a little bit bigger and harder to deal with. And that's when I started using quite a lot of prescription medication to get through games, and it was a bit brutal.
A knee injury in China in 2014 led to multiple operations.
And I could not get back from it. And after 2 years of just re-injuring myself, trying to get back to play and compete, I decided to call it a day.
Then last year, at the age of 40, Lauren took part in a trial of medicinal cannabis.
As of March, I started training to play basketball again at a certain level. And, to get me back to this point where I'm sort of training again, where I'm feeling fit and healthy in my body and mind, I really couldn't have done it without taking CBD oil. It's been a really great journey that I've been on.
It's a fantastic story and really a flagship for medicinal cannabis, really, and whether she can return to top-level basketball. And if that's the case, I think that will be a pilot for many others in all sports right around the country.
Here's Clarkson. Does it nicely and should goal for the D's, and he does.
As a player and four-time premiership coach, Alistair Clarkson put up with pain for years.
I've had lower back pain, probably from an old football injury, like many of my mates who played through the era that I played. It was a tough physical game.
Then a doctor prescribed him medicinal cannabis.
With all these sorts of ailments, the tossing and turning and not being able to sleep is probably the most disturbing part of it all. And it assists enormously in that regard, as well as obviously the pain relief.
Alistair Clarkson has joined Lauren and jockey Damien Oliver on an advisory board to ensure that researchers hear the sporting viewpoint.
We're really trying to break down the stigma attached to cannabis. A lot of people, including myself, have linked cannabis to the recreation side of things rather than the medicinal side of things.
And it's not just athletes who suffer from musculoskeletal injuries. Millions of Australians struggle with chronic pain and osteoarthritis every day with little relief.
We want to try and avoid the use of opioids if we possibly can due to the potential for addiction. So it's been proposed that cannabis might be a realistic alternative to opioids in the management of chronic pain.
Dr. Peter Bruckner has been researching the effect of cannabis ahead of a world-first trial with La Trobe University and Levin Health. 114 patients with chronic hip or knee pain will be recruited for the Phase 2 trial. For 6 weeks, half will receive the medicinal cannabis, which contains both CBD and THC, while the other will get a placebo, which looks, smells and tastes like real cannabis.
We're looking to see whether cannabis can actually improve their pain and also improve their quality of life.
As a member of the Opals, Lauren will be barred from using the drug that got her back on the court.
As an athlete, I don't think that I'll be able to use it, which is unfortunate because it got me to a point that I was able to train and get to this level again.
We need proper scientific evidence for any doctor before they prescribe something. They want to see that there is good scientific evidence that is firstly safe and secondly, it works.
If this latest trial is successful, researchers hope it'll not only change how Australians look at medicinal cannabis, but how the World Anti-Doping Agency does too.
Really, there's no evidence that it's performance enhancing. I think there's every possibility within the next year or two that cannabis will be removed from the banned list.
WADA is under pressure to act after US sprinter Sha'Carri Richardson tested positive for cannabis, forcing her to miss out on last year's Olympics. In most sports, athletes are not allowed to have any trace of the substance in their system.
This is another piece of research that might mean that we can review everything to do with WADA, everything to do with our illicit drugs policies. I'm certain that the research that we do with this is certainly going to change some people's attitudes and behaviours towards medicinal drug use.
I'm going to continue advocating for it because it got me to this point, and even as a 41-year-old mum, for me to be able to train and do the things that I'm doing, I feel really privileged to have had the opportunity to go on the trial.
It's so interesting to see how mainstream this conversation is becoming, particularly when you see big-name athletes like that talking about this, talking about their own experiences with it. There's clearly, there's perceptional and reputational stuff around these sorts of substances, but it's so interesting to see it moving into that scientific space, and I'd be fascinated personally just to see where this goes.
And because I'm keen to pick up my elite sporting career, I just really want to put my hand up for the study. If you need someone, I'm here, I'm in Melbourne, I'm available. Call me, wrong camera, call me.
I just think it makes sense. You've got to get it off the banned list. It's hardly performance enhancing,
exactly.
I would say.
Not that I would know.